Welcome to Family Night. Kirsten, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you, Megan?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me for Family Night.
Of course. I'm so happy we get to be here together
Me
and talk
too.
and feel the
Yeah,
spirit.
I'm already feeling the spirit. I feel it.
Right?
So, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Kirsten and I were both raised in the Mormon church. And every Monday night, we were supposed to have a family night. This was dictated from the prophet of
Yes.
God who told us, get together once a week and teach your children the gospel in your home. And so we decided that we were going to make family night fun again.
Yes. I
I
love
just
that
came up
for
with that just
us.
now.
And I approve.
So, those of you who've never been Mormon need to know that family night consisted of a lot of arguing, fighting, bad feelings had all the way around by everybody. Nobody enjoyed it. Nobody wanted to do it, but we did it because we were Mormon.
God said so.
God said so. That's right. So, every family night consisted of an opening song, an opening prayer, a lesson, and then closing song, closing prayer, followed by a treat.
A treat.
But because I have completely reversed everything in my life, treats come first.
Yeah.
And if you would like to join us every Monday night for family night, we would love to have you because, the more the merrier. And we also invite you to enjoy a treat with us. And the treat for this week, the recipe is always going to be in the show notes.
Yes.
We're not going to show it on screen because we have to go, I think, about 5 minutes before we can actually show what the treat is. But it's in the description, it's in the show notes. Spoiler alert, it is going to involve some kind of a drink. Because family night is way more fun when you don't have to do it sober.
And Mormons love it so much. I mean, Megan and I were talking about this. We had decided, just like when we were growing up, someone will get assigned the lesson and someone is assigned the treat or the activity. And so this week, Megan has the lesson, and we are going to be using the same books we were raised on that we have from the 80s. So when she said, I'm going to teach the lesson, do you want to do a treat? I was like, okay, I have the best idea. So I'm hoping you guys will find this as fun as we do. And like Megan was saying, recipe will always be in the show notes. And hopefully you guys will enjoy the treat and hang out with us while we have some fun looking at the things that we had to do every single week for my entire growing up, pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
we didn't do it every single week. There were definitely weeks when we missed.
right.
And then I remember for a time we would do family night on Sunday night because Mondays just got too busy for things.
Yeah.
But it was very much a real thing where I had to tell people, oh, I can't because it's family night.
Right.
I can't do anything on Monday nights. I remember my mom asking me if I could get Monday nights off at my job so that I could be there for family night. And, sometimes that would work and sometimes it wouldn't. So we are going to be teaching this series of family night out of the Book of Mormon Reader, which is a graphic novel designed to teach children the stories from the Book of Mormon, because the real Book of Mormon is pretty hard to understand. And as Mark Twain said, it's chloroform in print. So exactly. I want you to know, though, I sort of thought for a second, I was like, is this really mine from way back in the day? Because I thought maybe I bought this to teach to my kids. Nope. On the back, you can clearly see, well, actually, you can't clearly see, but I tried to write my name on it. I got 3 letters in.
I love that. I mean,
so this is my actual Book of Mormon Reader from when I was too young to even write my name.
I love that so much because, as you and I discussed, I got rid of mine with pretty much all my other Mormon things years ago. Yeah. But I found them online on a reseller, and I went and checked to see if it was just a Book of Mormon or a Mormon LDS owned. It might be LDS owned. I have no idea, but it was not strictly. That was the only Mormon thing on there. So I think it is just a used bookstore. And I got a bundle So guys, not only are we going to do Book of Mormon, we also have Doctrine and Covenants and the New Testament. So, I mean, it's coming full circle. And I checked, I didn't tell you this, Megan, but fun fact, the Bible one has the corrected Joseph Smith translation in there that says what actually happened.
So you mean what actually happened according to Joseph Smith?
So it would match up with the Book of Mormon.
Right,
yes.
Right.
So that'll be a fun highlighted discussion when we get there.
Yeah. And so I want you guys to know, like, we're not actually, I mean, the purpose of this is, first of all, to help Nevermos understand Mormonism a little bit better.
Yes.
But the other part of it is we want to go through these lessons as like, this is what we were taught as children. This is how we were brainwashed. And this is why it's harmful. If it's not going to be obvious, we're going to point it out. The other thing is, in the back of this Book of Mormon Reader, there's a section called Words to Know. And so I'm curious, and we're going to have, the other thing is that we're going to have surprise guests from time to time who are Nevermos with their reaction and their questions. And then after the episode airs, as often as we can, we'll do a live Monday night so that we can answer your questions. And we can maybe go through this Words to Know section, because there's a lot. And it's very, like, I don't know why they put candle on here. The candle would not burn. I don't, like, why would we need to know what a candle is? It says the candle would not burn. So
don't
really
worry,
curious.
I'm sure we'll find it.
I'm sure we'll find it at some point. It'll be like a little Easter egg. So anyway, I think we're gonna go through this. I think the best way to do it, Kirsten, is to read the entire lesson the way that it is first, and then we'll go back and talk about it. Because if we stop along the way, we probably will never get through it.
It's gonna take a while. Yeah.
With that said, I think we should cheers to family night.
Cheers?
Yes. Welcome to family night.
Cheers. Cheers.
All right. Opening song.
That really is good.
I didn't assign anybody to choose an opening song. So do you have one in mind, or should I choose one?
Well, I didn't know. Are we going like actual LDS? I don't want us to get in trouble.
Well, right. I mean, so we would get copyright infringement if we used their, words and music and all of that stuff. But we can at least mention the song and talk about it, because there are some harmful songs that we need to unpack the brainwashing on.
So there is one song that came to mind immediately for me, and this is actually a song that was sung often in my home, and I will tell you why. The song is Praise to the Man.
Oh.
Which...
That's a good one for this lesson, Kirsten.
Exactly. That's why I chose it. It was one of my Mormon relatives' favorite song of all time, because recorded in another historical, I put historical journal. I'm assuming this part is correct because there were witnesses. One of my family members sang this song to Joseph many times. It was either to Joseph or Brigham Young, but it was sung many times and requested specifically by the prophet to my family member many times and recorded in journals. So that was like, it's our family song.
Oh, so it's your family song. Nobody else gets to.
Nobody else, because we were requested by the prophet. By the prophet, Megan.
Well, okay, I'm going to hazard a wild guess here. Praise to the Man is a song praising Joseph Smith. So I doubt very much that it was Brigham Young who requested it, because it was about a different prophet. And also,
that's a good point.
It fits right in line with the narcissistic traits of one cult leader. I'm going to say cult leader, Joseph Smith, to request that the song about him be sung to him.
Well, it gets even better. Supposedly it was sang as if it is Joseph, I honestly don't recall. Right before they went to the jail, before they were killed or whatever.
Oh, right.
So it was in that same time. So that's why I'm like, I don't remember if it was sung to him or someone else. They sang it right before martyrdom, the justice was taken care of.
Dumb.
I don't know, right?
Right before justice was served on Joseph Smith.
Exactly.
So this is really interesting, and this is one of those like Mormon folklore things, and I actually have a whole book about Mormon folklore because there is so much mythology. This is called Mormon Miscellaneous. I can't wait to dig into this because this is one of those Mormon myths about like right before Joseph was led off to his martyrdom. Someone saying, "Praise to the man." And one voice came out of the crowd, and then everyone joined. And as he was marched off to the jail, it's like, this is like very cinematic.
Yes. That's why I said cinematic. Supposedly, because I mean, as a child, I was like, "Oh, what amazing!" And that was our family, and blah. And I mean, now as an adult, and I'm like, is that what happened? Or was someone like whistling it as they were walking down the street and someone happened to hear it?
Right. So I don't see anything in here immediately about that particular myth, but I wouldn't doubt that it's been mythologized, that it's been sort of embellished over the years. But let's talk about the words of the song for a second. Praise to the man who communed with Jehovah. Okay. Praise to the man who communed with Jehovah. Jesus anointed that prophet and seer. Blessed to open the last dispensation, kings shall extol him and nations revere. And then the chorus, which we sang over and over and over again.
All the time.
Hail to the prophet, ascended to heaven. Traitors and tyrants now fight him in vain. Now this calls to mind like this Mormon myth can't be true because this was written after he died, right?
Right. That's why I'm like, I don't know if it was for Joseph, because I feel like that's what I heard when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. So that's why I'm like, was it Brigham? Might have been John Taylor it was saying to.
Oh, even. Maybe. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, so actually, I think it was John Taylor because
he was the third president of the church.
Well, and my family member that supposedly was this person was extremely close to him. Like,
okay,
I believe even shared bloodline wives kind of thing. So it probably was John Taylor. Cool. Now that I'm thinking about it.
That's so cool to share wives like that.
Megan, you think I'm crazy? I came through one of the multiple wives that was his first cousin. So just saying. That in there.
I've been doing a lot of research on my family as well because I wanted to know who started this,
Yeah.
So I recently found out that one of my relatives who came from Norway, she was the first woman to join the church in Norway. She was married at the time. She and her husband joined together, but he was a sea captain, and tragically his ship sank and he drowned. Mm-hmm. And so when that happened, she decided to come to Utah and join the Saints. And so she came to Utah, I think, in 1856 or so. Mm-hmm. And then she became the 7th wife of this prominent person. And so she already had several children. Yeah. She came to Utah. She married this guy. She was his 7th wife. They had 4 children together. And then he went on to have 4 more wives after her. He fathered 50 biological children of his own. So it's just gross. Like the whole thing is so gross. And that's not the only polygamy history that I have in my family. Like the main ancestor that I've always identified was the first wife of a man. And anyway, he went on to have 2 more wives. And they all my relatives served, not all of them, but a lot of them in that time period served time in prison during the Utah War when they were arresting polygamists.
Because I don't want people to feel like, especially if there are people that, choose to practice polygamy or be polyamorous, things like that. The difference is I fully support people that are in relationships that they want to be in, that they support, and etc. More often than not, these ones specifically that Megan and I are referring to were not that case. It was more of even a trafficking situation, so to
trafficking. Speak. Call it what it is.
I don't want to say words and get you in trouble. So
no, you're fine. It was not, you can say trafficking, but it was not polygamy. It was bigamy.
No, it was more of almost an abuse. Not almost. It was an abusive.
It was
situation.
Abusive. Yeah, it was.
It
abusive.
was not. It was not to take care of the women. It was not to make bigger families. It wasn't to support God. It was assault. It was abuse. It was trafficking. This is not the same as it is the same as some of the ones that are going on now. But I just wanted to say, like, I understand people can be in polyamorous or polygamous relationships that they are happy and fulfilled in. This was not that case. And that's why we speak out on it, to be very clear.
Yes, and I thank you for saying that, because I have nothing against anybody who in a consensual relationship does whatever they want as long as it's consensual. However, the story I was always told as a child, as a young person, whenever I brought up, feeling icky about polygamy, my family always said, well, there were a lot of widows, people died on the plains. And so these men were taking in these other families to take care of them. And that's what literally happened in the case of this woman who came from Norway. Her name was Tarjer Serena. And because I want to say her name, but they never told me that she became the 7th wife of someone, who had 11. It's like, okay. And there is one other instance in my family history where someone married, he took as his 4th wife, the widow of his wife's brother. And so that was a situation where he literally was taking care of that woman. Now, I don't know if they had an intimate relationship or if he truly was just setting her up with a house and food and clothing and whatever.
Right.
But in the majority of cases, it was just greedy men who wanted to be with lots of women. And that's how it started.
Well, and saw women in vulnerable situations and took advantage of it. That's what it is.
Right.
Women in vulnerable situations that were then preyed upon because they couldn't own land, they had no money, they couldn't have a job, et cetera, et cetera. They had children already, in the case of your family, and they took advantage of it. I mean, that's what it is. We can now see and say what it actually is instead of putting this moral or religious spin on it.
So, and I recently, you're fine. This is the space to talk about all of this. This is not, we don't have to stick to our, prescribed program, especially when we have things come up for us that we need to talk about. So I recently saw a post on the ex-Mormon Reddit that said, how many of you have, I'm going to read it here. How many of you have Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, German, or English great-grandmothers who joined the church? Well, a lot of us do, me included. There's a newspaper article from back in the day. I don't know the exact date of it, but it's from an older newspaper titled Clever Mormon Elders, Their Success in Making Servant Girl Converts. And here's what the article says. Evidence that many domestics from Protestant Europe have become proselytes, scarcity of servants attributed to this cause, skill of the missionaries. For the past 3 years, the large cities of the East have been a scene of the labor of Mormon elders who have sought converts to Mormonism in kitchens and basement entrances. Great numbers of pamphlets have been distributed by these elders among the women who are included in the Army of Domestic Help. A careful investigation has been made among the agencies, and particularly among those which act for women that come to this country from Protestant Europe. The result seems clearly to establish the fact long known to many housekeepers that many Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, German, and English women have deserted housework and gone to Utah. The exact number of proselytes cannot be given, of course, but those who have been in a position to study the matter declare that a very large portion of the unmarried Protestant female domestic servants have been converted to Mormonism and taken out west.
Already in not good situations,
Right. And that's the definition of trafficking.
Yeah.
Somebody is in a not ideal situation. a person comes along and promises them other things, a new life, we'll take care of you. And it turns out that when they get to Utah, they're just going to become the third or the fourth or the fifth wife of some old man. And then they're stuck there and they have no money and no resources and no way to escape that situation. That's literally trafficking is what it is.
Yep.
And I remember I remember a quote by Brigham Young where he is scolding some of these elders who are taking the prettiest ones for themselves.
Right.
You know, and they'll bring back 5 women and he's like, this one's my wife already. We already got married. And Brigham Young's like, well, damn it. Now I only have ugly ones to choose from.
I mean, it's awful. Like,
we haven't even gotten through the first verse of the opening song, guys. This is what Mormonism does to people.
Aren't you excited for weekly FHE?
I really am, actually. I really am. I'm selfishly, it's helping me to unpack all of this trauma and express this anger in a healthy way and make other people aware that, like, the Mormon that you know in your neighborhood, that's a really sweet, wonderful family, and they're so kind, and their lawn always looks beautiful, and they're always dressed nice, and they're great people. They are great people, but they've been brainwashed, and a lot of them don't even know this history at all. There's a lot of it that I didn't know until I left the church, because the church leaders counsel us to only read from approved sources, meaning the church website, meaning that there's a lot that's been covered up and hidden over the years, because they know that if the majority of church members knew this history, they would not want to be affiliated with this church that was formed by a sexual predator and was built on trafficking people. And they're terrified that more people are going to find out, leave the church, stop paying tithing, and then they won't be in power anymore. And it's really not about the money, honestly, because they don't need the tithing money. They have literally $300 billion. It's more about staying in power.
Yes. Looking good, being who they are. It was started by someone with a lot of very narcissistic personality traits, and it's continued to be run by people that have those traits, because, as we've discussed in a couple of our past podcasts, talking together, that how you move up in the church is being seen with money, with rubbing shoulders with the right people. It's just as political as any other political aspiration.
Yep.
So
you can pay your way to the top.
How
Absolutely.
you look. Oh, yeah, easily. I mean, it's all about how they look. So, yeah.
How they appear in
really
public. It's about how they appear in public,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
The church exists to keep the people in power right now. They don't really care how the general membership is affected by things. And it's built up at the expense of the least fortunate members. And so there's all this rhetoric out there about, if you can't decide whether or not to buy food or pay tithing, pay your tithing. Like, that's a literal thing that gets said all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's like the people at the top are so privileged that they have no idea what the experience is of the other people, especially the people at the very bottom. And the people at the very bottom keep getting brainwashed that they're paying tithing because it's the Lord's money. It belongs to the Lord anyway. This is the thing that I want to keep driving home all the time, is that, there are some things that the Mormon church does well. They do donate money to good causes sometimes. They do feed the poor and needy sometimes. Not as much as they could, because when you have $300 billion and you only spend $1 billion of it doing good things, like, even if the church would follow its own example and spend 1/10 of their money on feeding the poor and needy or taking care of their own members, that would mean giving away $30 billion a year, not $1 billion.
Well, I think too, you and I have talked about this, me having a finance background. People have no concept of what a billion is. They really don't.
Right.
They do not have a concept of $1 billion. I see that all of the time. Someone has $2, $3, $4 million when they are 65 can live an extremely comfortable life the rest of their life. And that is someone who sits with people every single day, looks at these numbers on paper every single day. I'm not making this up. You can live extremely comfortably, a very nice life, having only $2, $3, $4, $5 million when you retire. $1 billion it's crazy. That would, it's just so much. I've heard people say 1 million seconds is like 11 days or something like that, and 1 billion seconds is 31 years. I might have that wrong, but I'm just saying it's something. It's crazy. And so think of $300 billion. It's okay, insane. It's insane.
Just to put it in perspective. So you were saying you don't really need more than $5 million to live very comfortably from the age of 65 until you die, even if you live a very long life. So if somebody wants to think of the concept of 1 billion, that's 1,000 million. 1,000 million. So $1 billion could provide for a very comfortable retirement for potentially at least 500 people.
At least. Yeah.
500 people. That's a couple of church
two
congregations.
Right? That's what I love that we both went there.
The same place. And also to put this in perspective too, right? You know how wealthy the British royal family is, right?
Yes. Yep.
The British royal family is only worth 80 billion. 80.
Yep.
With all their land and property and jewelry and money, they're worth $80 billion. The Catholic effing Church is worth 18 billion.
Yep.
So that's kind of mind-blowing to me when you think about all the property that the Catholic Church owns, all the cathedrals and everything. And of course, those are depreciating assets, right? They have, it costs a lot to maintain that. It also costs a lot to have a paid clergy. And that's one of the reasons the Mormon Church loves all of us volunteers who give our time freely to run the church, basically,
so they don't
without
have to
paying
pay
us.
anyone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think that they do perceive it as a real problem. Like they don't know what to do with all their money. And that's why they're announcing all of these temples, because what else are you going to do with that much money but buy up things that people are not making any more of, which is land?
Well, I mean, because they got caught and got the whistle blown on not doing all the forms they're supposed to, they are buying real estate now, so they don't have to do as many forms and they can write that off and they won't get caught. Okay.
Yep.
So as I've seen that, but I'm like, I don't know if you want to put that in the podcast or not.
Of course, I'm going to put it in the podcast. I just read an article this morning that because of their little snafu with their illegal shell companies, they're now going to have to pay up to $90 million in taxes, which, when I think about it, that their fine was $5 million. They were like, I pooped $5 million. I don't care.
Oh yeah.
Even $90 million.
I've said is nothing.
It doesn't make a dent.
I've said that so many times that they'll be like, well, the church donated $1 million worth of supplies. Okay.
Who cares?
The church has enough money to fully rebuild after Hurricane Katrina and give 100%. Every single person a comfortable home, fully furnished. Honest to God, do people realize that?
Right. And this is the thing that I say is of course the church, and we saw this in the Dateline episode that came out after the church was fined. They don't want people telling them what to do with their money. Fine.
No.
Okay. Even if they only took care of their own members who were in poverty, they could afford to buy sustainable housing for every one of their own members who's in poverty. And even if they retained the ownership of that property and just gave it as a low-cost lease or whatever, they could have a program that would end poverty in their own church among their own members, and yet they choose not to do it. You want to know what somebody's priorities are? Look at how they spend their money. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
I said it before. I'm going to say it 1,000 times. I know I said this at least in our last podcast. Look at the church like it's a business, and it makes sense.
It's a corporation.
It is a corporation.
First and foremost.
It's a corporation. It's a business. They're going to give their members a little pizza party instead of a year-end bonus. I mean, that's how I look at it, you know, like how many times did they give words like a budget or say you have to do this, or members buying things out of their own pocket so they can have 100%. A cute Christmas party, you know? And it's like,
okay, that's a prime example.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, when I was in my ward women's organization, the Relief Society, they liked to give a really nice Christmas party. And I remember them talking about, like, we don't have the budget for this and blah, blah, blah. And so members would dig into their own pockets so that we could have a really nice meal for the Christmas party, because there were a lot of people who were not going to have a Christmas meal, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just remember one year they wanted to do prime rib or something like that, which is really expensive. Yeah. And of course there was not the budget for it. And so, you know, one woman offered to use her home to host the Christmas party so it could be in a nice place. And she was like, I'll tell you what, we can use my home, but you know, it's a big imposition. Like, I have to clear my family out and, you know, I have to clean everything and have enough room for literally 50 people to come and have dinner over here. And she was like, I would prefer not to be the one that provides the food also. But she was the one who had like paid extra for us to have good food before. And so we ended up that year having roasted chicken, but it was like the thigh and the drumstick together, you know? And it was it ended up like a lot of it not cooked all the way through. But I'm like,
oh shoot,
you know, we could, it's just sad to me. It's sad.
Yeah.
That they don't care enough to provide for their own members. That's all, you know, like they're really having a budget and even the primary not having a budget. And anyway, we could just,
oh, we could go on forever. I mean, thinking about just the dividends and interest they're making every single day in those accounts. Like, if we just got a chalkboard out and showed how compound interest works and dividends, I think that alone would make people mad. At least it would make me mad if I was still in the church, you know.
That it made me furious when I found this out. And you can go to widowsmite.org because this is a watchdog group of people both inside and outside the church who report statistical information about the church. It's a really eye-opening read to go there. And I just remember finding out that the church's annual budget is somewhere around $7 billion a year. And they take in $9 billion in taxes. So they have an annual surplus.
In tithing.
In tithing. You're right. It is tax.
It feels like taxes.
You know, it's Mormon tax. But they have a $2 billion annual surplus. $2 billion.
Yeah.
So when they say, oh, we're giving away $1 billion a year, great. It's an improvement because of the work that the Widows Mite report has done. But even with that, they're giving away $1 billion. They still have $1 billion of surplus there that they could do a lot with without even touching their assets or their principal on any of their holdings or any of that. And let's just ask this question. Why does Jesus need a hedge fund?
Oh my gosh. I've said that so many times. Between the Mormons and the Catholics, Jesus is good. If he were to come, and also at any time, he's good.
I mean, what are we going to build him a palace when he comes again? Like, he doesn't want that. Like, he walked around in sandals and a robe. I very much doubt that he needs any of that money. And also, if God is really all powerful and all knowing, omniscient and omnipresent, why does he need money at all? He doesn't need your money.
Oh my gosh.
I promise you.
I was about to say something really snarky. You know what? I'm going to say it anyway. I'm like, we're in the right place. Okay,
yes, we are.
So this is the thing. Maybe Jesus came to the prophets years ago, was like, okay, guys, I'm going to come, but I'm really going to need all the credit. So save as much money as you can. So when I come, I can make sure everyone is not hungry anymore and everyone has a house. So you've really got to make sure I got at least 300 to 400 billion to make this happen. Because don't do it, because then you'll take credit. And I really need this to be on me, guys. So if you could just do that for me, do me a solid, save 300 to 400 billion. I think we'll be good. All my miracles can come to pass.
I just think, yeah, it's wild. So anyway, just to finish the last line of this chorus for the opening song of our family night, which, family night's only supposed to last, 20, 30 minutes or so.
30 minutes.
This might be a 4-hour show. So Praise to the Man was the song that was written about Joseph Smith. I'm fairly certain it was written after he died. I'm going to look it up right now, though, because it's my nerd brain needs to know.
In this second.
Okay. So the text was written by William W. Phelps. It doesn't give an exact year of when it was written. But the instructions of hymn number 27 are to sing it vigorously. So
vigorously.
So the chorus goes, "Hail to the prophet, ascended to heaven. Traitors and tyrants now fight him in vain. Mingling with gods, he can plan for his brethren, not his sisterin. Death cannot conquer the hero again." And then it goes on. There are 4 verses of this. "Praise to his memory, he died as a martyr. Honored and blessed be his ever great name. Long shall his blood, which was shed by assassins, plead unto heaven while the earth lauds his fame." This is why people say that Mormons aren't Christian, because we worship Joseph Smith instead of worshiping Jesus. They're not wrong about that. Great is his glory and endless his priesthood. Ever and ever the keys he will hold. Faithful and true, he will enter his kingdom, Joseph's kingdom, crowned in the midst of the prophets of old. They mean like Noah, Moses. That's what they're talking about. Sacrifice. This is the part that brainwashes us to give everything that we have to the church. Sacrifice brings forth the blessings of heaven. Earth must atone for the blood of that man. Wake up the world for the conflict of justice. Millions shall know brother Joseph again.
Yep.
And with that, I would like to say the opening prayer.
Hey.
God bless this whiskey.
Aw. Cheers. Oh, we didn't tell them what I called it.
Yes. Please do. Yeah, of course. Yes.
All right. So I told Megan, because we're going to have themed desserts and drinks, this is a good old fashioned lynching Joseph's lemonade.
Lynching Joseph's lemonade. It's different than a
lynching Joseph's lemonade.
Lynching
exactly.
Joseph's lemonade.
So everyone, I hope you enjoyed as much as I do, because I'm having quite a nice time with this.
I think it's lovely. A lot of people, when I grew up in Mormonism, I was always told that Joseph was wrongfully imprisoned, that they trumped up charges against him, that he didn't really do anything wrong. And in reality, he did. He actually, the reason that he went to prison this final time is because he ordered his group of followers, his close-knit little band of followers, to destroy the printing press that was printing the truth about his trafficking of women, shall we say. They found out that he was having affairs with multiple women, and they printed a newspaper called the Nauvoo Expositor, and Joseph ordered that printing press to be destroyed. That is something that tyrants do. In fact, it's kind of treasonous, and it's light treason. So that's why he was imprisoned. And the mob that attacked the jail that day knew that he was not going to see justice. He had gotten in and out of prison situations many times up to this point. And they knew that the Mormon system of bribing people and working behind the scenes to get Joseph released, they didn't think he was ever going to see justice. And that's why they stormed the prison and killed him. So I do not call him a martyr anymore.
No.
He might have been murdered. That's reasonable to say that. But it was one of those things where the mob took justice into their own hands because they believed that he was not going to see justice. And frankly, the mob was made up a lot of some of the fathers of these women, some of the relatives of these women. And, you know, I've said multiple times that it's a miracle that I'm not in prison, because when people hurt my children, you know, I want to hurt them back. But I have restrained myself thus far. So.
Thus far, huh?
Thus far. All right. Should we get to the lesson?
Let's get to the lesson.
Okay.
Guys, this is the fun part where we have pictures, which are like cartoon.
We have a little cartoon. Yes.
It's very fun.
Honestly, I don't think these exist online anymore. Otherwise, I would show them and share my screen. So we're going to just have to be satisfied to see, like, I guess if you want to pause and zoom in, you can see the pictures. So the first lesson is called How We Got the Book of Mormon. And again, I'm just going to read through the entire lesson, and then we can go back and look at some of the pictures. And Kirsten, I'd love to have your comments and feedback after the lesson is over.
I'll be quiet. I promise. I'll be quiet.
You don't have to. I wouldn't be surprised if you gasp at some point or flip a table at some point. So,
which I might.
How We Got the Book of Mormon. Joseph Smith was 14 years old. He did not know which church to join. One day he went into the woods near his home to pray. He knelt down and prayed. He asked God to tell him what to do. He saw a bright light. In the light were Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. Heavenly Father pointed to Jesus and said, "This is my son." They even look alike, so it's really true. They must be father and son.
Father and son.
They have
only
the
think
same,
that makes sense.
They have the same blonde hair and the same beard. So they must be. Joseph Smith asked which church he should join. The Son, Jesus Christ, told him not to join any of them. 3 years went by. Joseph Smith wanted to know what he should do. One night, he knelt down and prayed. Joseph saw a bright light. In the light was an angel. The angel told Joseph that God had a great work for him to do, even a marvelous work and a wonder. That was my adding. I added that.
That was beautiful.
The angel's name was Moroni. He told Joseph Smith about a book. The book was about people who lived in America many years ago. Moroni said the book was about the gospel of Jesus Christ. It helps us to learn that Jesus Christ lives and is the Son of God. Moroni told Joseph Smith, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at his face. And he just he just has this dead look. Like he's not really, like he's just dead inside.
I mean, to be fair, he probably was at that point.
Moroni told Joseph Smith where the book was. It was hidden in a hill, not far away, conveniently close to his house.
How lucky!
It was under a big rock. The name of the hill was Cumorah. Joseph went to the hill. He found the place Moroni had told him about. Joseph Smith moved the big rock. He found the book in a stone box. We're almost done, guys. It's just short lesson.
It's very short.
The book did not look like books we have now. The pages were made of gold. They were called plates. They had writing on them. Joseph Smith could not read the writing. It was not the kind of writing we have now. Truthful.
What's he gonna do?
Oh no. Moroni would not let Joseph take the gold plates. He told Joseph to come back each year. After 4 years, he let Joseph take the plates. God helped Joseph know what was written on the gold plates. Joseph Smith told friends what to write down. Joseph Smith took the book to a printer. The book was printed in words we know. The book is called the Book of Mormon. It tells us what was written on the gold plates. The end.
No, that was not the end, I assure you.
That was the beginning of this show.
We wish, right? Okay, I had many
initial thoughts. Okay. I had many thoughts as well.
Right. Number one, every time you're like, he saw a pillar of light, I was like, oh, in my mind.
In my mind, I was like, he must have been taking mushrooms because.
Oh, yeah. Well, probably. He's in the woods, needed something to snack on. All of a sudden he sees God. It makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen God for less. You know what I'm saying? Anyways.
I'm dead.
You might have to take my lemonade is almost gone, as you can see. Number two, this is important. Okay. It's not. But when Moroni came, I was like, you know what? This is just misogyny all over again, because he didn't even bring up his wife, who was Lori, and obviously important to the story.
I'm glad I had not just taken a sip. I would have spit it out.
Maybe Lori was the one who dug the hole, since apparently she's into digging. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Please take that whole part out. Oh my God, Megan.
No, I'm leaving it in. No, I'm leaving it in. Okay. Here's some things that I noticed. Aside from that, he might have been hallucinating due to some consumption of fungus material. Also, look at this room.
Proximity. Sorry, the proximity was something I noticed too. It just happened to be.
Oh, it happened to be right there. Okay. Yeah. So the Smiths lived in a log cabin. They were poor farmers. A lot of the time they didn't have enough money to like feed themselves. But look at this room.
Right.
You know, this is bigger than my bedroom is. And also, let's remember, throughout this entire thing, I had this epiphany one day where I was like, I've always seen these pictures of like Moroni appearing to Joseph Smith in his room, and there's nobody else sleeping in that bed. There's nobody else in that room. But we know that Joseph Smith, it was a large family. Yeah. They didn't have more than one bedroom for the children. And so they probably were all sharing a room. And so none of these other kids saw the angel Moroni, because none of them wrote
with
about
all of that light.
He had to go and tell his family that Moroni appeared to him. So how did that work? Right. He was the only one doing that. Now, here's another thing, like just logistically, because I like to be a little bit about factual information. And here's the thing, like when I left the church, I had this conversation with my dad about the rock in the hat, because, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about this first, just logistically. Okay, here's the big rock. Joseph Smith moved the big rock. He found the book in a stone box. Look at the size of that rock. With the stick he's got leveraged under there, that's not how physics works. That rock is so big that stick would have snapped right in half, and there's no way he could have moved it by himself. So let's say it was a much smaller stone. Come on.
Right?
Those gold plates, if they were real, which they weren't, I'm just going to, spoiler alert, I'm sorry. No. They would have been worth millions of dollars even back then. Yeah. Astronomically, like priceless. And they wouldn't have been hidden beneath a rock that was small enough for one person to move it. I mean, just think about the Ark of the Covenant. You know, it was anyway.
Well, also this is fiction. Well, I was thinking, I used to think this, or I still do think this. What am I saying? Okay, if it's hundreds and hundreds of years first of documents written on gold, it's going to be more than just a little book. Two, right? If it has been preserved for hundreds of years, it's not just going to be under one little rock. It's going to be a dig. It's going to be fossilized, like in rock or very, very deep or something, that it's still there. Right. I mean, you never see archaeologists that are like, I tripped over a dinosaur rib and decided to dig. Like, that's not how that works. Like, you know, this takes like a lot more than that. So it's not like people don't just dig 6 inches down and are like, I found hundreds of ancient, like, no.
Yeah.
And also, even as a kid, I just kept thinking, okay, if it's on gold, we know it's not going to be gold leaf because we've all seen that disintegrates. So it has to be at least like substantial enough that you could carve on it.
Right.
And we know how thick the Book of Mormon is in our little tiny typography on pages. How big is it going to be with gold? It's going to be tons, literal and heavy, like tons. He's not going to have just like this little stack of gold plates and then translate it into the full Book of Mormon. Go ahead.
This is the portion that's the Book of Mormon. And this is how thin the pages are. They are very,
and
very
the writing's
thin.
teeny.
The writing is teeny tiny, as you can see. And so if this was all carved on golden plates, they would have been huge. And I just want to show the picture.
Like a library of Alexandria huge or something, you know?
Right. This is the picture that we were shown where these plates are, you know, they're substantial enough that, you know, if it was, and gold is a very soft metal, let's be honest. So yeah, you probably could carve something on it. But if they were really like this, they would have been way too heavy for one person to carry.
Oh yeah.
But we have all of these stories about Joseph Smith like running through the woods carrying the golden plate. So it's just again logistically not possible. I think somebody actually made a replica of plates.
Yes, I've seen that.
Tin or something like that. But they were, you know, estimating it would have been something like 500 pounds or something ridiculous like that. Like it's just,
even if like you want to go apologetic and be like, oh, it was bronze or something. He didn't understand. The thing I was told by my father, because he knew I was very logical and wanted an explanation, he was like, well, I think that he just got part of it and God just kind of told him the rest and it was interpreted and he put it all down as the prophets would talk to him and like, you know, very apologetic. And being a 5 or 6 year old, your little brain is like, okay, I guess that makes sense, you know, because I had these questions even at that young age because I've always been a very logical thinker. It's something that I guess is more rare, I guess, especially for women, or so they say, which is just stupid.
Women are not very logical.
Right? We can't think a lot with those lady brains.
That's right.
So,
but and then every 28 days, our brain does a hard reset and we lose everything.
Right. Oh, and now I'm screwed because I got a hysterectomy a few years ago. Now I'm just crazy all the time. No,
for no reason.
Right. But it was one of those things that it was like every time I had a question, I was given an answer that as a child made sense. So much so that, you know, we always say we put it on the shelf. I just put it in the back of my head because it was like, okay, I was given an explanation. It really doesn't make sense. But in my mind, now as an adult, I can think it kind of gave me the idea of don't ask again because whatever answer you get is not going to make sense. It makes sense to God, accept it for what it is. And that was something that happened a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
and in my house, it was not safe to ask follow-up questions because that's belligerent. That is disrespectful. And so, you know, when I was given an answer about something like this, it was like, here's your answer. Now be quiet and go away. I don't want to talk about this anymore. You know, that was pretty much the vibe I got. And it's the vibe I continue to get because here's what I pointed. Like, I didn't know about, quote, the rock in the hat thing.
Same.
Because what I was taught in my Book of Mormon Reader right here, this is the picture that I have in my head all the time of Joseph translating the plates. Now, Joseph is over here with the golden plates. There's a curtain between him and Oliver Cowdery, who was his scribe, and Oliver's writing down everything Joseph is saying as he looks at the golden plates themselves.
That painting or something very similar was hung in my ward building.
Yeah.
I remember
Joseph
even
Smith
where it was.
Sitting at a table with the golden plates.
With the gold plates.
Now what the church says, and Rusty, who's the CEO right now, demonstrated that Joseph had what's called a seer stone, which is a little brown stone like this. And he said that he would look at the stone and the words would appear on the stone. But here's the great part. Rusty now says that Joseph would put that stone let's call it a rock. Let's call it what it is. He would put it in a hat, and he would look at it like this, and the words would appear on the stone. So literally a rock in a hat. Like Joseph Smith would throw a rock into a hat, look at it, and then tell Oliver what to write down.
Well, it wasn't just any rock. It was also the same rock in the hat that he used to find magic gold that then would move when they dug for it.
Right. So back in the day, he
obviously it's a special rock. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Joseph Smith was at heart an entrepreneur, shall we say.
The way that like a bank robber is an entrepreneur, then yeah.
He started his own company digging for treasure back in the day. So he would tell his neighbors that he had special powers and that he could tell that there was treasure buried on their property. And he would say, if I help you find this treasure, will you do me a solid? Give me some money. And they would be like, sure. So they would pay him a couple of bucks, and he would use his seer stone to go and find, oh, it's over there. And then he would say, okay, there's a spirit guarding this treasure. An ancient spirit is guarding this ancient treasure, and it demands a sacrifice. So they would literally unalive animals like dogs, and they would do some sort of a ritual that involved blood in order to appease this spirit that was guarding the treasure. And inevitably what would happen is Joseph would say, oh, we did it wrong. And the spirit took the treasure and moved it to a different place. So he never did find any treasure, but he earned a few dollars along the way doing his little rituals and incantations. And a lot of people will say, that's just anti-Mormon lies. Well, that's unfortunately something I used to say as a believing member when something confronted me that challenged my worldview. Because for Mormons to really absorb that information, it's very scary because it means dismantling everything you've ever known, and also admitting that the people who should have loved you and cared for you either at the very least did not do their own due diligence, or they did and they're lying to you about the real history of the church. And I believe in my parents' case that they're sincere believers. My parents, my grandparents, my great-grand, like all the way down to my fifth great-grandparents who joined the church way back in 1834. They sincerely believed that this was true. But back then, there was no way to verify these claims. And when the brother of Joseph Smith comes and tells you this story about, my brother saw, well, actually back then they weren't teaching about the first vision. Back then they were just teaching about the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, I was going to say the first vision didn't come for a while,
Right. Well,
at least for a little while.
Public. Yeah, it didn't become public for a while. But what they were teaching was that, Hiram was out there saying, my brother found, an angel appeared to him and he found this ancient record. I've seen the plates, even though he saw it with his spiritual eyes and not his real eyes. And so he's out there telling people, my brother did this. I've seen it. I've read the book. It talks of an ancient people who saw Jesus Christ on this continent, like on the land we're living on right now. This is where these people existed. You could see where that would be compelling to some people who were vulnerable to believing stuff like that. And the heartbreaking thing is, in almost every instance of the ancestors that I've researched, there was always somebody with a clear head who was begging them not to join the church and not to go to Utah. And they did it anyway, because to some people, it's a very compelling idea to give up everything that you own for something higher than yourself. Yeah. And I even said that as a kid. I said, like, if the prophet were standing in front of me right now and he said, you have to give up everything that you own and go move to some remote place that is not even in the country, I would do it. I would be like, yes, I want to be the kind of person who will do that.
You're so much better than I was when I was a kid. I remember being asked that and I was like, I don't think so. And they're like, what? And I was like, well, and this was a legitimate concern. So music, as I'm sure for you, for mine was playing piano. I started playing piano when I was 3 and 4 years old. I, had received music scholarships, like competitions.
Me too.
Like piano was a huge thing in my life. And one of my biggest things was if I was asked to go across the plains or give up everything, I straight up would say, where am I going to put my piano? And that was like one thing I would say all the time. And my mom would be like, well, you can get a new piano when you get there. And I remember this very vividly. It might have actually been during a family home evening lesson. And I said, well, I gave up everything. Now I have no money. Now I can't buy a new piano. And she was like, well, you would find a way, And I was like, I don't think I would. And I don't want to be somewhere without my piano. And that was like the thing. I was standing. I was like, I want my piano and I won't be able to get a new one. And I was really upset because I thought if the prophet came and told me to give everything up, I might say no. And I carried that. Like, I felt really, really bad because I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to leave my piano. I don't know why the piano was the thing I was hanging my hat on. I mean, that's probably something I need to dive into therapy. That like music was my savior or something.
You don't need any therapy. I can tell you right now, for me personally, playing the piano was my refuge and that was my therapy. Like when I was younger, especially because my piano wasn't like in a separate room from the family room where my family would hang out and watch TV. Like that was my escape. And it didn't matter what else was happening in my house. I just like have these very vivid memories of me sitting at the piano, playing the piano while somebody else was yelling and screaming in the other room. And it was like, I'm blocking it out. I don't hear you. Chopin is the only thing I hear right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I get that. I get you hanging your hat on that. But I can just tell you, Kirsten, you love your piano more than you love the Lord.
Oh my God. And guess what? That's true. That is true. Well, and when you were talking,
100% true.
When you were talking about, people believing Joseph or whatever, or even now when people say, anti-Mormon things.
Yeah.
I remember when I was kind of dismantling everything or going through my deconstruction or whatever words we want to use. I remember kind of being mad at myself for believing it and thinking it was lies or anti-Mormon literature or whatever you want to call it. But then at the same time, I had the thought, well, you had never really seen someone be that evil, which was true. Because after I left the church, I had been through some really horrific things, which, you and I have talked a little bit about. And it was like I had the same thought the exact same time. And I was like, that's true. Maybe when I'd heard those things, I thought, well, no one would really lie that much and be that evil.
Right.
And then once I had seen it with my own eyes, it was like you had that like glass shattering moment where everything's broken. I was like, oh, people are that evil. And Joseph definitely was. Do you know what I'm saying?
And 100%. Yeah, because you're right. Up until, I sort of have had this awakening of what reality was in my life. And I came to the understanding of how manipulative certain people had been in my life and how they had gaslit me and lied to me and basically turned me into what they wanted me to be. I didn't know that was a thing. I just really wanted to believe the best of everyone. And I thought that was a good quality and not a failing. And I thought that makes me an optimist. I see the world in a way where I believe the best about everybody, and that's a good thing. Well, the problem with that is that then you start to dismiss things that are harmful because you want to see the best in people rather than taking that in as information as I need to be more careful with this person.
Yes.
So it's very much a Mormon brainwashy sort of a thing where we outsource our critical thinking to church leadership because we think, and this is the reason why some of these abuse cases that are coming against the LDS church are being successful, because we have this assumption in our minds that if somebody is a temple recommend holder, that means they've been interviewed by somebody with special powers from God who can tell if they're lying or not. So if they hold a temple recommend, meaning if they pass that interview with their bishop, it means that they're a good person. And the bottom line is that they're not, because so many people just lie in those interviews. And that never crossed my mind as a younger person. I never thought to myself, well, they could just lie to get into the temple, because I couldn't imagine doing something like that. Even to the point where I remember very, very vividly when I was getting ready to go on my first temple trip as a 12-year-old, I remember very vividly breaking up with my best friend because she was a bad influence. And I wanted to go to the temple, and I didn't want anybody around me who was going to make me think bad thoughts or say bad words or engage in mischief of any kind. And so I just really remember like telling her, I'm sorry, I can't be friends with you anymore, because I need to really like focus on being perfect.
Oh, that like breaks my heart, both for you and for her. Like, I can only
Exactly.
imagine how hard that was for her, especially knowing like she didn't know what she did. And for you
She's
feeling like God's purpose was better than this friendship that was super meaningful. And at that time, at least for me, when I was 12, 13, 14, middle school, those friends still to this day are some of my best friends. Like I've had high school friends and college friends follow up, and that middle school core group of girls, the three of us, I'm still super close to.
Yeah.
So
well,
I can only imagine. I'm so sorry.
The sad thing
No,
is
I am. That like makes my heart hurt all around for both you guys, you know,
I
and I have
know, like
kids that age. So I think that makes it even more. I'm just like, little Megan needs a hug, and also her
little
friends.
Megan gets a lot of hugs. But I will tell you too, like I moved from South Dakota to Connecticut at the very, very end of my 6th grade year. And in South Dakota, 6th grade was part of elementary school, and in Connecticut, it was part of middle school. So I went from elementary to middle school. It was just a few weeks at the end of the year. And I was coming into a really small community where a lot of these people had gone to elementary school together, and they all had known each other since, kindergarten. And so I was a little bit of a novelty, people were like, ooh, the new kid kind of thing. Well, then there was an end of the year dance, but I was not 14, so I was not allowed to go to the dance. And so a lot of those people that befriended me right when I came in were like, well, if you're not going to the dance, what, you can't go to the dance? What? I was like, my parents won't let me because I'm Mormon. And then it was like, whoosh, nobody wanted to talk to me at that point. And I ended up like sitting alone at lunch a lot. And then sort of, the misfits sort of, took me in because, they felt sorry for me.
That's what they do. Yeah.
And that was the friend that I broke up with, was the one that had befriended me when I had nobody else. Now, we did end up like staying friends, but I had, of course, given her a Book of Mormon, invited her to church, so she sort of got that Mormonism was a big deal in my life. And I'm sure she was hurt by that. But at the same time, like later on, when I changed my mind and I was like, I don't care, I just want friends. Like she was really good about just, it's fine. We're still friends. And we still talk to this day. Like we have a lot in common. We're, a lot of those core people, I just have had to go back, first of all, when my marriage ended, and they were like, yep, not surprised. And I was like, what? Why didn't you say something? But what do you say, to somebody? You can't convince somebody that they're in a bad relationship. And by the same token, when I left the church, it was the same thing. They were like, thank God. Oh. And I was like, they were like, look, we tried to tell you.
And I think that is how it is, with people that are still in the church, trying to tell them like, guys, really look into it. And, I try really, really hard not to push anything on people, especially that are currently in my life, because I try to keep good graces with the few LDS people still in my life. But one person that I did try a lot to talk to was my mom, because she was a convert, and I would constantly be saying like, why did you join? Why did you join? And well, her story is kind of funny. My mom was a convert. She grew up in a really, really abusive household, divorced parents back in, the 60s when it was not a thing. Abuse and every single way you could think of it, And so when she was 14, 15, she had found a really good group of LDS friends who invited her to play volleyball because she was on the high school volleyball team and was the star. And so they brought her to church volleyball so they could kick other wards' butts, you know, as God intended.
They needed a ringer.
Right. So she came and they kept asking her to, you know, if she wanted to have the missionary discussions. And she's like, I've already been baptized, because she was baptized as a baby, you know, Methodist or whatever. They kept pushing it. And this is the part which I hate, which is why I'm sharing it. The bishop told her, if you want to keep playing, you have to get baptized or you can't come anymore. And so my mom got baptized. She said she'd had like only 1 or 2 meetings with the missionaries. She heard the first vision, which she thought was crazy because he was 14 and she had like just turned 15. So she's like, someone my age saw God. And she's like, all that I've been through, I've never seen God. And I've asked for God to come and save me.
Oh, man.
And so, but then she kept thinking, well, this is the best group of friends I've ever had. None of these people hurt me. So I want to keep playing volleyball. So she got baptized. And then she said she kept being told her testimony would come, and eventually it did. So she got married in the temple, not knowing if that was what she really should do. She got baptized, not knowing if that was what she was supposed to do, you know, had children, raised them. And as I was really deconstructing, I would talk to her. I was like, Mom, you know, there's so many versions of the first vision. And I'd be telling her these things and she'd be like, I never heard that. I never heard that. And so finally I was like, then why do you stay? Like, now that you've heard these things and you didn't even know if you had a testimony when you got baptized, why do you stay? And she said, I guess it's just more comfortable to stay than it would be to leave.
Yeah.
And I was like, so when she died, I mean, she had a very big Mormon funeral with lots of music and people and prayers and testimonies and all the things, which that's what she wanted. I'm so glad that she had that, obviously.
Yeah.
But it always, like, there are times, I'm not going to lie, I get really sad thinking about that. In my very strong opinion, that my mom was tricked into being baptized, and my mom did have a hard life. You know, we've talked about that a little bit, both before and after. And it just makes me sad because I think that not necessarily that obvious of trickery, you know, and I think even missionaries don't think of it as trickery, but convincing someone to join a church they don't have all the information about, in my opinion, is really, really wrong.
Yeah, but a lot of missionaries don't even know that they don't have all the information because they're just like us. You know, they're operating under the assumption that they've been told the truth by the people in power. And that's the harmful thing about it. And we know that the objective of the mission is not necessarily to gain converts. Like, that's a benefit, but the objective of the mission is to fully indoctrinate the person who's on the mission. The missionary needs to come back fully indoctrinated and believing like this is going to be their path for the rest of their life. And so I have a lot of compassion for missionaries. Whenever they come around, I will feed them. I will give them whatever they need. And I will also ask them, are you safe? Are you getting your needs met? How is your mental health? If you wanted to leave, could you? Because, you know, obviously when missionaries are in the United States, if they wanted to leave, it would be a matter of getting a plane ticket or a bus ticket or whatever. If they're in a foreign country, a lot of times the missionaries surrender their passport to their mission president. And so they can't leave unless they go and have that really uncomfortable conversation with the mission president. By the same token, there are a lot of members today who think that in order to leave, they have to have a conversation with their bishop. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to tell anyone. You can just leave. And you don't even need your bishop to have your name removed from the records of the church. You can go to quitmormon.org and they will make it very easy for you. It's what I did too. And I only found out about it from watching Mormon Stories podcast. So I'm grateful that I did, because I too was in this position where I was like, I don't want to go have that conversation with my bishop. He's just going to try to convince me to stay. But I just did not want my name affiliated with an organization that is built on lies and that harms so many people. And so, you know, that kind of comes down to like this last little like these last couple of pictures. The dude in the printing office has a cool stash. I just want to say that
Yeah.
the best mustache ever. And then suddenly we're in the 60s, and you know, there's a guy in a suit sitting next to a lamp reading the Book of Mormon. And so like these are the images that were kind of burned into my brain as a kid. And I've mentioned many times that anytime I had cognitive dissonance about church or questions about the founding of the church or anything, I always said to myself, all of my family members, all my aunts, uncles, cousins, and way back generations on my mom's side, back generations, my dad's mom was actually a convert to the church. And, you know, but I never knew my grandmother, but all the stories I heard of her were that she was smart. And that's what I kept telling myself, is that how could these smart people believe something that's not true? I just kept gaslighting myself that way for a very long time. The thing that snapped me out of it, I've said this before, but I will keep talking about it because I hope it resonates with other people, is when I heard a talk by Sandra Tanner, who's one of my heroes, by the way, very early on was writing things about the real history and origins of the church. She was giving a talk to other church leadership, pastors and priests from other churches, talking about why Mormons leave. And she said that she was having a meeting. She was at lunch with a church historian. And she said, how do you get around the fact that Joseph Smith was a predator? And that finally took the last of the blinders off of my eyes. And I was like, because as a survivor of SA, I know how predators work. It's something I'm passionate about teaching people about so that they don't get victimized. And I was like, oh my gosh, Joseph Smith was absolutely a predator. It's 100% what he did. He would isolate a young woman away from her family and then proposition her. That's what predators do. And knowing that this organization was founded by somebody with those ideals, again, it's all fruit of the poisonous tree in my mind. And I can't support any of it. I can't encourage anybody to stay in that organization, because even if there are some good things, it's like poop in the brownies. There's poop in the brownies, guys.
And I think that's why you and I, you know, when we talked about doing this FHE weekly, what made me really be like, I want to do that, besides that it's just fun and I adore you, is that for me, it's really showing what we're taught from childhood. If you're taught every single day, Santa's real, Santa's real, Santa's real, which we all went, every single person has a story when they found out Santa wasn't real, you know, and totally traumatized them as a child, right?
Right.
Think about always being told, even when you're like, it doesn't seem like it, like presents come, but I saw you at Toys R Us, you know, like, and they're like, no. And there's always a reason. There's always a reason why, oh, you're right, Santa is real. Oh my gosh, you happen to be at Toys R Us. I see Santa makes it. Okay, it shows up right. Okay, you know, and if someone's constantly giving you a story, sometimes it does take to adulthood to be like, wait a second, I know I've lied about something. Maybe someone else has, and it got out of hand, but in the way they want to, you know? And so when people have asked, I mean, we both know, we've seen in the comments, why do Mormons stay? Why do they hear all this and believe it? Because we're told over and over and over, from the moment that we are born, we are blessed as a baby. We go to church every Sunday. We eat the bread and drink the water and sit in hours and hours and go every single day to church. I mean, it's not hard to see why people stay. Your whole family's in there. You know, you talked about it. My whole family was in there. It's just hard to imagine that so many people would lie about literally every single thing in your life. I mean, I used to cry and yell when I left. I gave you everything. Like, that's how it felt. I gave you everything. I went to the school you told me to go to. I took seminary. I broke up with boyfriends. I, you know, didn't do certain things. I didn't go on Sunday. I quit clubs because I couldn't do the things on Sunday, you know?
Right.
And I know that you feel this deeply. And I think I just want people to understand that Mormons give to the church more than the average person does to their religion. So
Right.
when you have a moment to breathe, which is not often, you know, it seems like, and you start to find out that maybe this wasn't true, for me, it felt like so much regret. Like, how
Yes.
many things did I miss out on because I gave everything to a lie? How much did I sacrifice? How many people that I thought were good people or had good relationships with? Like, I would think back, I wouldn't have met this person or done this thing, which put me in harm later down the road because I trusted them, because I was told it was okay, because they were members of the church, you know? And so I think that's why people that have left the church feel so strongly about it. I know that's why you do. That's what I do. It's heavy on my heart that I don't want people to live the rest of their life feeling that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I feel very strongly the same way that you do. I feel like my life was taken from me.
yeah.
And I mean that very literally. And I say, you know, whenever I talk about Joseph Smith taking these teenage women, and I don't want to say that he married them, and I don't want to say it was polygamy. He took their lives.
Yeah.
Because he robbed them of the ability to have another life, a normal life, where they would have gotten married to someone that they loved. And they would have had children with someone who lived with them and who, you know, was a partner. And I feel I feel that way about the church so much because I paid my tithing even when I was destitute, and I gave so much time to the church. I looked at my other friends who were musicians who had church jobs where their churches paid them to come and sing and play the piano and play the organ and those things. They were making thousands of dollars a month to do those things.
Yep.
And I was destitute, and I was giving freely my time, my talents, and everything that I was blessed with, because that's what I promised to do.
I have to tell you
suffered
this
for it.
story. Yeah. Along those lines,
Yeah.
I was asked to play for other churches in their music programs a few times, as I'm sure you were. And my mom told me if I did, I would be supporting a religion against God, which one of the temple recommend questions is, do you affiliate or support a different religion?
Any organization that is contrary to the teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yes. So they told me if I would go and play at these programs, then I was going, you know, would I be able to answer that honestly? And I was like, oh man. And it was a lot of money sometimes, you know, Christmas programs and stuff every Saturday and Sunday for 6 weeks or whatever, you know, when I was 13, 14, 15. And yeah, anyways, when you brought that up, it made me think of that. And I'm like, oh, I used to get so mad too. I was like, it's not like I'm up there preaching. Who cares?
No, and exactly. And that I had the exact same experience where somebody asked me to come and sub in their choir at Easter. It was like an emergency. There's, you know, one soprano who knew how to sing got sick, and they wanted, you know, somebody there to, you know, guide the rest of the section. So I accepted this job going on Easter Sunday. But I was like, oh my gosh, you know, we could really use the money. It was like $150. And I was like, that'll pay for our groceries. And so I went and I did it, and I felt so terrible afterwards because I was like, they're not teaching the truth in there. And now I'm supporting people. And I literally thought about my friend from high school who was a trombone player, and he went to college for trombone. And then he joined the Army Symphony, I think.
Yeah, whatever.
And he quit after a few years. And I remember asking him about it, and he said, yeah, I just realized that I was playing an instrument in an orchestra that was designed to help people want to join an organization that was going to kill people. And I quit. And I was like, and so when I went to that other church, I was like, over here singing in a choir that's designed to teach people the wrong thing about Jesus, and their salvation is at stake. And so I can't do that anymore.
Well, it sparked a really big conversation in my house because you guys had to have lived there. Do you remember the nativity thing they would do at with all the nativity?
Yeah, it was a big deal in the community. So the LDS Church in San Antonio organized this gigantic display of nativities. It was the largest display of nativities in the world, or something like that. I don't know.
Over 1,000, or I mean,
it might have been thousands. Like 300. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Who knows? And they'd have rooms with different themes, like these are from different countries or whatever.
African one and a South American room, and they had life-size ones. They had. Do you remember the mini ones that were like made out of toothpicks and stuff?
Yes, I love those. Yeah.
In
fact,
my mom
I still
did that.
have one. Yeah.
She's the one who started. She loves the nativity, so she started asking people in the community to donate.
Right. So it was members and non-members who would donate their nativities so that people could display them, so that people could come through at Christmas time and see them. And I always had to play the piano during the sessions where people would come to view. So I would play Christmas carols while people were coming in to see the nativity.
Okay, you can leave this or edit this out, just so you know.
Okay.
You and I had an interaction.
What?
No, I remember. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I remember
Kirsten?
being like a little girl, like 12 maybe, and you were playing the piano. And I walked up to you and told you how much I loved hearing you play. And I was so glad you were there. And you were like, oh, I swear to God, I have goosebumps right now. I feel like I'm going to cry.
Oh my God.
I remember it so vividly. I thought you were so beautiful. And I saw you up there and I was like, oh my God. I remember telling my mom, I want to be like her. Like, I thought you were so beautiful and like radiating the spirit. I'm not kidding. And she told me to go tell you. I remember this so
I'm crying. Oh my gosh.
I remember this so vividly because my mom did it. We were there every single night. And I remember just wanting to talk to you so much. Like, I had seen you multiple nights. And she was like, go tell her. And I just went up and like told you I loved your playing and I thought you were so pretty. And you were like, oh, thank you. Do you play the piano? And I was like, yeah, I play the piano. You're like, do you want to play? And I was like, no. Yeah, I was like 12. I remember it so well.
When you said that about asking if you wanted to play, I really remember that now.
Do you really?
Yes, because I remember thinking like, oh, it'd be so cool if this little one would like to just have a duet. That would be so fun. Like, let her.
Oh
like,
my God, that was
I'd love
me.
for you to play something.
Shut the fuck up, dude. Okay, this is like weird. I wish I could show. I'm like covered in goosebumps. I feel like I'm
okay. What year was that, Kirsten?
If I was 12 or 13, it had to have been around there. So 97, maybe 96.
Yeah, I mean that would have been because
maybe 98.
98 sounds more like correct to me because
I think I was in middle school or I was a freshman, so like 98.
In 98, that would have been shortly after my former spouse was baptized. I had 2 kids at the time, and I just remember like I was barely starting to like be super, super active in the church again because I was out for a little while, not out, but I was like, I just wasn't going to church. And I came back when my oldest was about 2 years old.
Yeah.
And so, like it would have been 97, 96 when I came back. 97, my son was born and my former spouse was baptized. 98, I would have been all in 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be like my 8th grade or my freshman year. So 98, 99 was right around that time.
I felt inspired to invite you to play.
Dude, that is so crazy.
That's really crazy. I was thinking you were so much younger than me, that you knew my little sister who's 6 years younger than me. And I thought there's no way that like we knew each other or anything.
That is so crazy. What are the odds, man?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So one of these days we're going to have to play a duet together.
Right? Aww. This is so crazy. Seriously. I remember that so well, because I just remember looking up and thinking you were so beautiful and just like sitting there playing the piano. Because, so many people that would volunteer their time at the church were like older women or men.
Right.
The organ player is like the 80-year-old man that has time to. And I just thought you were like so beautiful, just sitting up there like young and playing the piano. And anyways. Oh, that's so funny.
That's so sweet.
The whole reason I brought up all of that being said, the nativity and everything.
Right.
That it seemed so foreign to my family that I would go and be part of another church celebratory program, be it Christmas or Easter or whatever. Right. But when the Mormons had it, or our church had it, we welcomed everyone. The news came to ours, and like they had the news there, and we would invite everyone in, and they were like, well, we're the true church and we're celebrating. And I kept thinking, I would always think this, like all of the time. I'd be like, well, they think that too. They think they're the true church and they're celebrating and they're inviting people in.
Yeah, but
and so wrong, exactly. It was always like very cognitive dissonance in my head that I was like, why can we invite people in, but they shouldn't,
Right.
So that's where all of that was coming back to. So now that we're back on track.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to be on track during these things, but I appreciate the opportunity to educate the public and also to unpack our own personal trauma.
Right? Yes, 1,000%. So
yeah. So closing song, I would like to choose the closing song if that's okay.
Yes, please.
My brothers always chose the same song anytime either of them was called, because it was the shortest one that they knew. And of course, we can't sing it or play it because we'll get copyright dinged by the corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Just think about that for a second. The corporation of Jesus Christ, like Jesus Christ Incorporated, Jesus Incorporated. Anyway, the shortest song available is the one that's called Kindness Begins With Me. Yeah. I want to be kind to everyone, for that is right, you see. So I say to myself, remember this, kindness begins with me. That's how it goes.
Yep.
Which was another thing that I sort of was brainwashed into, of like, it's up to me to be the peacemaker, to be the good one, the kind one. So I can't be mean or argue with my siblings. Do you have a closing prayer that you would like to say?
Yeah. I mean, my drink is all gone.
But, that's a shame.
We'll use the Tinkerbell mug.
Oh, there you go. Love it.
My closing prayer is that everyone has a lot of laughs, enjoys the rest of their upcoming week, and to remember to not be fooled by men with rocks in the hat. Amen.
There you go. In the name of truth and science, amen.
Amen.
Well, it's been lovely. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Family Home Evening. And I hope you will all join us again.
I get lesson next week, right?
Yes, you've got the lesson next week. Better be prepared. I had a little bit of like, when I was coming into the studio, I was like, am I prepared with my lesson?
Oh my God. The trauma runs deep, man.
It totally does. All right. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.
I love you too. Bye.